This morning, we got breaking news in this exclusive from Pablo Torre that Kawhi Leonard's $1.75 million no-show payday was running late. Then, per new documents obtained by Pablo, the Clippers co-owner invested $1.99 million in the team's broke sponsor. 9 days later, Kawhi got paid. It's beyond shocking, an Aspiration executive says. We are going to break down the latest, greatest with it right now from the great Tom Haberstroh, our teammate here. Tom, appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us early this morning. I was shocked. I'm just trying to work out this morning, just trying to get my pre-show workout in, and all of a sudden Pablo's out here breaking more news. He's doing this in layers. There's levels to what Pablo's doing. So what was your initial reaction to the latest report from Pablo?
Yeah, if you didn't think the initial report was the smoking gun, this is the smoking gun. This is an explosive report from Pablo Torre, and Pablo Torre finds out. I encourage everyone to watch the entire episode because while that tweet does describe some of the details revealed in this report, it isn't even hold a candle to all the other stuff in this report from Pablo Torre, namely that in the Board of Governors meeting where all 30 owners of the NBA met yesterday, this week in New York City, Adam Silver, according to Pablo Torre, in that meeting, did not bring up the Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard aspiration investigation, which left the other owners to just do these side discussions like, wait, how are we not even addressing that in the Board of Governors meeting with potentially the biggest scandal in the 21st century in the NBA? This is huge that right now what we're seeing in this report is that not just Steve Ballmer was involved with Aspiration, but a miraculous payment while the company was spinning down the drain financially and they were dry of funds. A miraculous payment came from the co-owner of the Clippers, Dennis Wong, whose daughter, as Pablo Torre revealed in this episode and reported, is that his daughter was employed by Aspiration. So the intermingling of these two entities, the Clippers, Aspiration, and Kawhi Leonard, is getting even stronger. And it's a web that is tightening around Steve Ballmer and the Clippers. And the fact that this payment came in of just under $2 million when Kawhi Leonard was due just under $2 million. If I'm the other owners and if I'm a fan of the NBA, I look at the totality of this evidence presented at this point and just say, what else do I need to see? Like, it is very clear that something is amiss here. That if you're trying to uphold the integrity of the NBA, you have to drop the hammer on Steve Ballmer if these allegations are true. Because what this presents is a blueprint, you guys. This presents a blueprint. If Adam Silver does not come down with a very strong punishment and statement against Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, what this does is it gives a blueprint for all the other teams. If they want to circumvent the cap, here's how you do it. You just get a second company, funnel a bunch of money through there. You don't even have to have him do an endorsement deal that makes him endorse the company or provide any services. And you can just pay him through that company and everything's good. If they get off on this, then every team has the blueprint to circumvent the cap. And so Adam Silver has a very important decision upcoming here, is based on the law firm's investigation and what they find and what Pablo Torre has found and surfaced. There is a lot at stake, including the integrity of the NBA itself.
I think the way that Adam Silver approaches this could wildly impact not just the modern day NBA, but how, NBA owners approach their business moving forward. I mean, it feels like such a pivotal moment in the league. And Adam Silver spoke with reporters yesterday at the NBA owners meetings, and he said that he has never heard of the company Aspiration, that so much of this he just had no idea was going on behind the scenes. Tom, am I wrong for thinking that I'm really hard pressed to believe that Adam Silver didn't know of any, potential wrongdoing or potential, hairy stuff and nefarious things going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I certainly raised my eyebrows on that one when he said he had never heard of Aspiration, which announced a $330 million sponsorship deal with one of the crown jewels of the NBA, the LA Clippers. That's a huge investment and one that I think the NBA would be very proud to keep an eye on and say, hey, we just had one of our teams that just a few short years ago was embroiled in one of the bigger scandals in NBA history in the Donald Sterling tapes. And now we have this company investing over $300 million to be a founding sponsor. What a great story that is, in terms of a business success. So and also they agreed to be the jersey patch sponsor. So Aspiration, before it went under, Aspiration was supposed to be the jersey patch sponsor for the LA Clippers. Again, Steve Ballmer is the richest of all of the owners in the NBA. And for the commissioner to not understand or hear about the largest sponsorship deal of one of its teams, that's hard to believe. And I do think that when you talk about Adam Silver and the press conference yesterday that he had after the Board of Governors meeting, it did seem like he was on the defensive. The tone of it was on the defensive. He said he would be reluctant to act if there was the appearance of impropriety. He said there was due process that needed to be done. A lot of these things seemed like he was on the defense rather than on the attack and saying, like, the integrity of the league is at stake. We cannot have teams funneling millions of dollars to third parties to star players in order to circumvent the cap. If this was David Stern, I'd imagine he would have come out in the opening remarks of that press conference and explained the gravity and how important it is, the massive implications of what's being alleged here, and how the NBA needs to make sure this does not happen in the league. Instead, he had basically laid out the groundwork of the law firm bringing the investigation to their table, and that he would have to have a lot of evidence. But in the CBA, there is strict language in there that says all you need is circumstantial evidence to see a violation of cap circumvention. You just have to rationally explain why you're investing $28 million and having a reported $20 million in stock value, and then another random investment of $2 million that might not seem so random when you consider that company was supposed to pay Kawhi Leonard $1.75 million in endorsement deal that he was not even endorsing the company. Remember, this endorsement deal with Kawhi Leonard didn't come with an announcement from Aspiration. You would have never have known that Kawhi Leonard was endorsing this green bank unless Pablo Torre made this investigation and brought these interesting details to light. So the fact that Kawhi Leonard, what appears to be a no-show job, is getting paid just under $2 million by one of these companies that both Steve Ballmer and the co-owner of the Clippers is investing in, man, other teams are writing this down, being like, if this is all it takes to circumvent the cap and we don't get fined for this or punished for this, let's go. Open season.
It's just a coincidence, Tom. That's 6 days prior, the co-owner of the Clippers invested $2 million into this random company that just happened to pay out Kawhi Leonard $1.7 million less than a week later. It's just a coincidence. But, you mentioned the no-show kind of sponsorships, but this isn't the first time that we've seen that with Kawhi Leonard. There was some recent reporting that showed that Kawhi Leonard and Uncle Dennis Robertson, Kawhi Leonard's representation, asked for these things in Toronto. No-show sponsorships, partial ownership in the Toronto Maple Leafs. How does Kawhi and Uncle Dennis continue to get away with this?
Well, they hadn't gotten away with it until, these revelations came about, in the sense that there, in Bruce Arthur's reporting with the Toronto Raptors, there was what appeared to be a $10 million endorsement deal where, quote, we didn't want to do anything. That this framework of a pact, a cap circumvention scheme was already offered to the Toronto Raptors, where Uncle Dennis reportedly was asking for an endorsement deal, or a deal where he didn't have to do anything, but still wanted his money anyway. And then now we see that the framework of such a deal, or the appearance of that framework, is being reported by Pablo Torre, finds out, with the Los Angeles Clippers, the team that he did leave the Toronto Raptors for. And I should also point out this. I have seen people say, hey, the max contract was signed. So this whole quid pro quo of like, hey, Kawhi, just take less than the max and we'll pay you $7 million to make up for that difference. That didn't happen here. But what I would say is that the max contract rule is inviting cap circumvention from teams. Because if you're only allowed to pay Kawhi Leonard $50 million, but you have to win him over the Lakers, over the Knicks, over other teams, how else are you going to woo and court Kawhi Leonard? Well, Uncle Dennis seems to have figured out one of the ways is to have this money being routed through a sponsorship company that would get paid to an account that Pablo Torre is reporting, KL2 Aspire LLC, where Kawhi Leonard's name and signature is attached to this document, this endorsement contract. This max contract did seem to have some sweeteners in it from Uncle Dennis's side, is that he was able to get a endorsement contract from this sham company that was going to give him $28 million without lifting a finger. So this is, not just this one little piece of evidence. This is a pattern of events. Remember, guys, the investigation isn't just about this. The investigation, the league has already investigated Steve Ballmer in 2015 for cap circumvention and hit him with a $250,000 fine because they offered a similar deal in the sense that Steve Ballmer and the Clippers presented DeAndre Jordan in 2015 in the free agency saga with the Dallas Mavericks, presented a sponsorship deal that, according to the LA Times, was a Lexus sponsorship deal with DeAndre Jordan in which he would be paid $200,000 a year. And so they were found enough wrongdoing for Adam Silver to come down with a $250,000 fine in 2015. And then there was Doc Rivers with tampering in 2019 ahead of Kawhi Leonard's free agency. So this isn't just about aspiration. This is about a continuance of Steve Ballmer and the Clippers towing that line of cap circumvention and doing whatever it takes, again, above the rules, below the rules, to get Kawhi Leonard and to keep Kawhi Leonard happy. And so this isn't just an isolated incident. This is multiple times we have seen Kawhi Leonard be the subject of investigation along with Steve Ballmer, and also enough to punish them in 2015.
Tom, you know this league so well, so walk me through a common sense piece, because as we get the reporting, the Raptors were asked to make concessions outside of the cap they weren't comfortable with. How in the hell did they not go to the NBA when he signed with the Clippers and say, hey, here's what Kawhi asked us to do. We should probably take a look at this. Are we sure everything's on the up and up? Like, don't the Raptors have some obligation to report that they were being asked to do something that was outside of the rules by Kawhi's camp?
Right. And don't forget, there was an investigation regarding Jerry West and some promises he made in Kawhi Leonard's circle for $2.5 million being paid from Johnny Wilkes, who is a confidant of Uncle Dennis, was expecting a $2.5 million payment and filed lawsuit against Jerry West and the Los Angeles Clippers saying, hey, you were supposed to pay me $2.5 million to help bring Kawhi Leonard home to the Clippers, and you reneged on that deal. And he sued the Clippers, and that lawsuit was thrown out because there wasn't a hard evidence. In the court of law, you need more than just circumstantial evidence. But without, Jerry West writing down, I will pay you $2.5 million because you will help me try to land Kawhi Leonard as a free agent, Jerry West working as a consultant for the Clippers at that time. This is not just about the Toronto Raptors. There have been multiple investigations into Kawhi Leonard, and I do think that the Toronto Raptors raised up enough stink here in order to get media reports, in order to get people saying this is not okay. What Uncle Dennis is doing and what other teams are being asked to do, the NBA has opened up an investigation, but wasn't able to find any sort of hard evidence for them to bring any sort of punishment against Steve Ballmer and the Clippers at that point. But there has been so much smoke around this, but there is no more smoke than what we have gotten on Thursday morning from Pablo Torre finds out. I find this report to be even more damning for the Los Angeles Clippers and Steve Ballmer and Dennis Wong, his co-owner, than even the first report. Because this one, it brings in another character into this story. The co-owner, Steve Ballmer's college roommate at Harvard, a guy who introduced Steve Ballmer to Jerry West, and then Jerry West is wrapped in this other controversy with Johnny Wilkes back in 2019. This web is going to be very difficult for the Clippers to unwrap themselves and to disentangle themselves from this web. But man, I got to imagine that the other teams are watching to see what Adam Silver does here, because remember, the NBA All-Star Game in 2026 is in LA. It is at Intuit Dome, and you can be rest assured that Steve Ballmer wants to be the face of that NBA All-Star Game, and we'll see if the NBA allows him to do that.
What, in your mind, Tom, right now, based on what we know, what would be the appropriate punishment for the Clippers and for Kawhi that would send a message to the league?
Well, what we know is that the NBA did drop the hammer on the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2000 when a cap circumvention scandal happened with Joe Smith, where they had these under the table agreements with Joe Smith to take 3 years of small money in order to have a fourth agreement of huge money, upwards of $80 million. And in that case, there was a paper trail and a written document that said, hey, we need to agree to these terms under the table, cap circumvention, and the NBA and David Stern dropped the hammer. I mean, we're talking 5 first-round picks, $3.5 million, which represented 10% of the cap back in 2000, and also a suspension of Glenn Taylor, the owner, and Kevin McHale, the leader of the basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves, a suspension for a year. So it's picks. It's a lot of money, a 7-figure dollar fine. And you're also talking about suspending Steve Ballmer for a year if they use that rubric and blueprint for what could be coming for the Los Angeles Clippers. But I would say that I have talked to executives around the league that wonder if Adam Silver and Wachtell, the firm, the legal team that is being commissioned by the NBA to investigate Steve Ballmer and the Clippers and these allegations, I wonder if they see, as the CBA is written, that this is even more than cap circumvention, that perhaps Adam Silver, as he said yesterday in the press conference, that he has broad latitude in terms of adjudicating something like this, the power to punish. I wonder if this isn't just going to be about cap circumvention. I wonder if this gets at something larger than that. The integrity of the league is at stake. Like, I keep saying this because Adam Silver has said cap circumvention before. He has said this before. It is a cardinal sin in the NBA. The NBA believes that cap circumvention is at the heart, the core of having a level playing field. And if we have the richest owner in the NBA also trying to do under the table agreements with a star player, that could potentially open up Pandora's box for the NBA. If they are not found to be liable for any sort of punishment, I got to imagine that all these teams are looking at this and saying, hey, if they can get away with this, then it's open season for us.
I could talk to you about this for 2 hours, but that's what the big number exists for. Check out the big number right here on Yahoo Sports. Tom Haberstroh doing great work, man. Always appreciate your insight. Thanks for coming on with us super early this morning. We appreciate you, my friend.